Thanks, Erin. Hi, everybody. Dark fantasy blends together elements of fantasy with elements of horror, particularly with the use of supernatural beings, such as vampires, werewolves, and fallen angels, among others. With the popularity of series such as Twilight and The Vampire Diaries, as well as their movie and television counterparts, dark fantasy has entered the forefront of young adult fiction, even garnering its own section at many bookstores as teen paranormal romance. While there have been many YA authors in this genre over the years, I have chosen to speak in particular about Meredith Ann Pierce, Annette Curtis Klause, and Stephenie Meyer. Meredith Ann Pierce was born in 1958 in Seattle, Washington, moving around the country until she attended the University of Florida to get her bachelor's in liberal arts and her master's in creative writing, as well as attending Florida State for her master's in library science, which is something that each one of us can definitely relate to. She currently works as a librarian while continuing to write fantasy novels. Shortly after earning her first master's, in 1982 she published her first novel, The Dark Angel, which earned many accolades, including the International Reading Association's Children's Book Award. Eventually becoming the first novel in the Dark Angel series, The Dark Angel takes place in the distant future, where the moon has been transformed into a lush landscape able to be inhabited by a multitude of creatures. Edwin is taken by the Dark Angel, who is a dark-winged vampire, to become one of his 13 wives. Her slave Ariel attempts to avenge her, but the vampire kidnaps her in order to continue her life of servitude as his 13 wives' slave. Once she learns the Dark Angel needs just one more wife in order to steal the White Witch's power, and subsequently join his brothers to rule the world, Ariel is determined to kill him. However, when she sees a bit of goodness inside of him, Ariel becomes somewhat captivated by the Dark Angel and is conflicted as to whether she should destroy him or try and save him. As is typical of Pierce's novels, the Dark Angel features a young woman who longs to love and be loved, but first must fight to save the world. Next, Annette Curtis Klause was born in 1953 in Bristol, England, moving to Maryland prior to earning her bachelor's in English literature and master's in library science from the University of Maryland. Similar to Meredith Ann Pierce, she continues to work at a library, currently as a children's materials selector in Maryland. Since 1990, Klause has published 4 young adult novels, including Blood and Chocolate. Awarded the 1998 YALSA Award for Best Books for Young Adults, Blood and Chocolate is the story of Vivian, a 16-year-old girl who happens to have the ability to shapeshift into a wolf. Grieving over the recent loss of her father, Vivian wants nothing more than to be normal. However, when she falls in love with a human, which the pack labels Meat Boy, Vivian feels conflicted between her loyalty to her pack and the love she feels for Aiden. As she moves between her pack and her human life, Vivian struggles to find which world she really fits in. Finally, Stephenie Meyer's The Twilight Saga has had a strong impression on young adults, contributing to the current trend of vampires and werewolves in books, movies, and television. Meyer was born in 1973 in Connecticut, but grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and then earned her bachelor's in English at BYU. As a stay-at-home mom, Meyer had very little experience writing, and she says that her inspiration to write came from a dream. The dream about a human girl in love with a vampire ultimately became the basis for Twilight, which she only shopped around to literary agencies after her sister's persuasion. Released in 2005, Twilight gave birth to 3 more books in the next 3 years, leading the series to take the top 4 spots in USA Today's Top 100 Books of 2008 list. In the first novel, a teenage girl, Bella Swan, moves to live with her father in Forks, Washington. In addition to dealing with the differences between Forks and her hometown of Phoenix, Bella meets and falls in love with Edward Cullen, a vegetarian vampire, meaning he survives on the blood of animals. Although she builds a strong relationship with his makeshift family of vampires, the real danger happens when a nomadic trio of vampires stumbles across Bella with the Cullens, and the tracker James makes it his mission to kill her. As the series continues, things get even more complicated when Bella's friend Jacob Black turns into a werewolf, and a love triangle forms with both Edward and Jacob expressing their love for Bella. Although Myers faced a lot of criticism for Bella's dependence on Edward, the story has become extremely popular, leading to 3 already released and 2 upcoming films, as well as a related novella, The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. These authors and novels are only a few of the most popular in YA dark fantasy. Our reading list includes several more dark fantasy authors and novels, as well as those discussed here, that you can view if you'd like more information. Next up is Madeline to discuss modern fantasy.